Blake is a character that fascinates me. From the very beginning, she's had more going on with her personal development than, honestly, any other character in the whole show. All the way back from the Black trailer, she's introduced to us as someone with a sordid backstory. We learn she's a faunus and the hardships she's endured. Truly, an incredibly interesting character. But what really fascinates me about Blake isn't who she started as. Things really get interesting once we see who she is now.
Oh my gosh, no. You gotta do it like this. That's what I'm doing!
Blake is quite a far cry from who she was when she first got introduced to us, huh? A lot of people have specifically talked about this scene from Volume 9, where Ruby is having a breaking point and Blake seems to cower behind Yang. Blake? The revolutionary? The girl who stone-faced told off Weiss for her prejudice? Blake, right? The girl who threw herself in front of Yang to defend her unconscious body from Adam? The girl who charged after a White Fang spy with no hesitation? That Blake is cowering? What happened? Well, I've been thinking about it a lot, about Blake as a character and her development, so let me present to you the evolution of Blake. So there's something very important to point out right from the get-go. Yes, Blake is a cool ninja assassin who stands up for what she believes in, even when she was just a little child. But also, Blake has the tendency to run from her problems. It's like a whole huge aspect of her character development, after all.
You're not one to back down from a challenge, Blake.
But I am! I do it all the time.
Can you do anything besides run?
But it's not enough just to understand this is an important aspect of her growth. We also have to understand why she runs when she does, why she firmly stands her ground at other times. And in doing so, we can also pay attention to how she changes across the volumes into someone who seems to be much more passive. So, no better place to start than the beginning. In the Black trailer, we can see Blake is clearly not thrilled to be doing this mission, but she does it anyway. I go into this a lot more in my Black trailer analysis, but long story short, this is the moment Blake decides she doesn't agree with Adam's actions and leaves the White Fang. Her mannerisms throughout the trailer are, honestly, rather passive. She shies away. She waits for Adam to move first and give her directions. Even when she cuts the train cart and leaves, she still clearly looks sad and uncertain, before her expression changes to one of more determination. Almost like she has to convince herself to commit to this idea. Once the show proper starts up, we see her first few interactions are a perfect example of Blake's duality. Her willingness to stand her ground, mixed with her tendency to leave.
I said I was sorry, princess.
It's Eris, actually. Eris to the Schnee Dust Company.
Blake is willing to dive into this conversation completely unprompted, and I'll be honest, I don't think she cared about standing up for Ruby. I think she just saw an opportunity to dunk on a Schnee, a family known for their anti-faunus practices, because she walks away as soon as Weiss leaves, not even bothering to give Ruby a second glance. Later during bedtime, Blake tries to dismiss the sisters, but the thing that really makes her lower her book and engage with Ruby isn't actually Ruby remarking about her shared interest in reading.
What's it about?
Huh?
Your book. Does it have a name?
Yeah, it gets Blake's attention, but what really makes Blake fully focus on Ruby and the conversation at hand is Ruby's ideals and naivete.
That's very ambitious for a child. Unfortunately, the real world isn't the same as a fairy tale.
Then, once Weiss interrupts them and derails the topic, Blake exits the conversation by blowing out her candles. Blake engages with people and firmly stands her ground when it's something she has a strong moral concept about. But once the topic is no longer about what she thinks is morally correct, she disengages. She helps Adam on the train because she wants to hurt the Schnees because of their faunus discrimination. She tells off Weiss for the same reason. She talks to Ruby about the hardships of reality because she knows how bad it can truly be. The thing that makes her turn away from these three instances is the topic changing. Adam no longer wants to do this for faunus equality, he wants to hurt innocent lives. Weiss left the conversation, and Blake isn't interested in becoming chums with some rando kid. And then the tables turn, and when Blake can't discuss the topic of Ruby's idealism, she gives up on engaging with all of them. Basically, she's just all id. If it's not about her interests, she doesn't bother engaging with it. Then, one very important thing is going to shake up the foundation of Blake's interactions with others.
How about a cute little pony?
Sure.
So, Blake is on a team now. She might not want to engage with these girls all the time, but inevitably she's going to have to come back to them whether she likes it or not. You know, they share a bedroom, after all. And importantly, even if she does try to leave, like we inevitably see when Blake reveals she's a faunus, she might try and disengage with them, but they still go out of their way to go looking for her. Blake argues about faunus discrimination to Weiss, and when she accidentally lets slip that she's a faunus and was in the White Fang, she runs. Not only does she see how this will lead to a natural conflict of interest between her and Weiss, but also, Blake hates confrontation. Sort of. Blake is fine with confrontation when she's addressing someone else's problems, but she hates confrontation when it's about her own mistakes. And yeah, this is a really big part of her character. Every time she does finally confront the things about herself she doesn't like, the mistakes she thinks she's made, it's a big emotional moment for her. She doesn't like confronting her mistakes because she feels like she made a lot of them. So there's this big moment when she accidentally reveals she's been deceiving the girls she's befriended. She runs, but much to her surprise, they follow after her. Even if they thought she was in the wrong, they still tracked her down and defended her and stood by her side. This is huge because no one has ever followed her before. Her parents didn't try to track her down after she stayed with the White Fang. No one from the White Fang tried to follow her after she left, like Adam or Ilya. And Blake was all set and ready to abandon Team RWBY and stick around with Sun, but here, now, these three girls go out of their way to find her and make things right between them all. Truly an emotional breakthrough for Blake. And we can even see that moving into volumes 2 and 3. Even when the topic changes to something she's uncomfortable or disinterested in, she doesn't just run away. She doesn't hide herself behind a book and ignore them. She's here. She's present. This is not a luxury she gives to everyone. She still disengages from Sun and Team Juniper, but Team RWBY? Even when she does try to leave, they can now convince her to stay.
It's attacked when I told you none of this would have happened.
Stop.
During Volume 2, she starts really throwing herself into hunting down Torchwick. She wants to make amends for some of the many mistakes she feels like she's made in the White Fang, and this is how she thinks she'll be able to stop it. Now, she does tend to disengage with others here, but it's not because she's running from them. More, she's running towards her goals. She's overdoing it. And there's this huge moment where Yang directly confronts her about her problematic behavior, and Blake doesn't run from this moment. No matter how uncomfortable or angry she gets, she doesn't leave, showing not only how strong their bonds are, but also lets their bonds grow even stronger together moving forward. To the point where the only time Blake runs away in this volume is when she's protecting Weiss. No longer prioritizing her own personal discomfort or disinterest, now Blake goes out of her way to save those who are closest to her, even if that means running from a moment she has strong moral feelings about. She's been hunting down Torchwick and the White Fang all year, had a whole personal meltdown over it, and now she has him dead to rights, and she runs from him and the White Fang to help protect her teammates. And it all works out in the end, because Torchwick gets arrested. Blake has personally witnessed the power of having close friends she can rely on, standing by their sides to protect them, and seeing how they have positively changed her for the better, and the world around her. And then... well, that sucked. But for real, after finally growing close with these girls, their closeness is what gets Yang's arm cut off. It revealed to Adam how important she is to Blake, and if Yang hadn't have tried to save her, she wouldn't have gotten hurt. Blake once again has to run away to protect someone she cares about, but also, it's too late. And maybe if Blake had just run from Adam right from the start, maybe Yang wouldn't have gotten hurt at all.
I'm not running.
You will.
So, after all that growth, Blake once again has to run. Feels like she needs to run. Regrets not running sooner and doesn't want her closest friends to get hurt anymore. But just like how Team RWBY followed her in Volume 1, in Volume 4, Sun proves how much he cares about her by following her too. Albeit in a much more creepy way.
Ugh, Just shut up and fight.
It's also important to know that Blake doesn't have a regression for her character here. While, yes, she left Vale in an attempt to protect her team from Adam, she doesn't run from her personal battles anymore, chasing down Ilya, standing her ground once her face is revealed.
Who says I'm done fighting?
Even being the one to commit to not backing down from the White Fang again, vowing to take it back, no longer running from the White Fang because she doesn't agree with them. That carries on to Volume 5 too, standing her ground against Ilya. Whether it's her secret little threats or the full-on ambush, Blake does not run or shy away from her and her forces, culminating into the biggest moment for Blake yet, being the voice of reason for Ilya. There have been so many people who acted as emotional rocks for Blake when she was in crisis. RWBY showing up to help fight at the docks. Weiss reassuring her they want to fix the problems that haunt her. Yang bringing her back to her senses. Even Sun pleading with her not to push them away because of Adam's threats. Blake has had a lot of close friends she can rely on who help support her. Now she makes the big leap and is the support for Ilya. Finally. No more running. Blake has faced her demons and has found new resolve. It's the ultimate culmination of everything she's developed through over the show. Chasing down the White Fang, not running from them and their threats, not overexerting herself, relying on those she cares about and who care about her, the ones who followed her to help her when she ran, and the ones she reached out to save. Finally, it's time once again to face Adam. Stronger than ever before, Blake stands her ground.
I told you, Adam. It's over.
And when Adam charges, she uses her shadow clone not to run from his attack, but to parry it. She stays and fights. And the only wrench that gets thrown into Blake's newfound resolve is the sight of her team.
Yang?
Blake goes back to face Adam, but ultimately lets him run. Not only a satisfying turn of events for her, but also she needs to protect her team. That's one thing Blake has always done. Whether it was killing off the second Ursa in the Emerald Forest, or throwing herself between Yang's body and Adam's blade, running after Adam won't help anyone. After all, Yang already showed her she can't throw herself into things without taking care of herself. And her team is here. And she will always be right there to help fight with them. She protects them, and they protect her. They're protecting each other. And then, Volume 6 happens.
Leave me alone!
So, yeah, this is a bit of a weird step backwards. I know I've sort of painted the events from the first 5 volumes in a rather flattering way. Some of these plot points happened because of budgetary restraints, like letting Adam get away. I'm not going to pretend like it was all planned out to be this perfectly woven together, but clearly I can still find the narrative threads that helps tie Blake's actions all together in a cohesive way. Not only that, in a way that makes her actions and mannerisms make sense as the story progressed. She clearly grows as a character, even in spite of Rooster Teeth's budget problems. But then, Volume 6 sort of throws it all out the window. Blake already had her big moment of no more running. She's already seen through Adam's facade and dunked on him. She's already come to the big realization that her true strength lies with her teammates. And then Volume 6 sort of just does it all again, resets things back so she can do it all again now, only without RWBY, Weiss, her son. Now, I think there was a reason they did this. It was because Volume 5 was bad. I imagine they weren't exactly satisfied with how Blake's big resolution really turned out due to Volume 5's limited budget and animation problems. And yeah, I'll admit it, the resolution with Blake in Volume 6 is much more entertaining and has much better dialogue and music compared to Volume 5. Like, let's be real, which one is the more iconic line?
But honestly, I've got more important things to deal with.
She's not protecting me, Adam. And I'm not protecting her. We're protecting each other.
Like, come on, it's not even close. It is interesting this starts happening in Volume 6, because this was also the beginning of RWBY sort of repeating story arcs or specific themes for the plot. Anyways, then there's the sort of obvious elephant-sized bee in the room. Clearly during this volume, they decided to really commit to pushing the bees together. So, as a part of that, Blake's big resolution with Adam also now includes Yang. Something that I honestly don't have any problems with. In fact, I think it makes a lot of sense. Yang's big character growth has been tied to her PTSD over Adam cutting off her arm. Of course, including her in this moment is a good idea. It's also a big moment for Yang too, personally. The issue is the fact that Weiss and RWBY could have also been here too. But yeah, anyways, Blake has her new resolution again, running from Adam, deciding running isn't an option, finding strength alongside her future girlfriend, and with Adam's death, this sort of marks the end of Blake's personal plotline. Yes, she does still stand up for faunus equality, but with the whole doom, witch, and relic nabbing stuff happening around her, there's not a lot of time to dedicate towards this idea. Also, starting with Volume 7, we get focus on a lot of other characters now, like Ren and Nora's developments, Crow's, Oscar's, Emerald, etc., etc. But that doesn't mean Blake isn't doing anything during these volumes. Quite the opposite, actually. Something very specific starts to happen with Blake starting with Volume 7, and I'm not talking about her relationship with Yang. Here, let me show you. This is Blake from Volume 7. Now this is Blake from Volume 1. Notice anything different? Here, let's try it again. Here's current Blake. Now past Blake. Any idea? Current, past. You want to know the answer? She's happy.
It's part about dance clubs. I can't hear you.
Yeah, Blake has had bright moments before, but after Adam's death, there is a very clear, positive shift in her character, and of course there is. Why wouldn't she be happy? The personal demon that's been haunting her is dead. She's grown to no longer run from the things that make her scared or uncomfortable. She's reunited with the first group of people who went out of their way to stay with her. Yeah! I'd be on cloud 9 too! Volume 7, Blake and Yang are rather passive. Like I said, there are other characters getting their time to shine, but they do have an important moment in the middle of the volume when they reach out to Robin. This isn't surprising. This is the thing Blake has always done. Gone out of her way to stand up for what she thinks is right, and she thinks being transparent with Robin and letting her continue to fight for Mantle is the right thing to do. Unfortunately, this is also the biggest tipping point that breaks Ironwood's trust in them. But she doesn't back down. She doesn't run from Ironwood or the Aesops. She stands and fights for what she believes in. Not out of desperation or revenge, but because she has a strong sense of moral righteousness. And this growth is cool. It's legitimately cool, breaking down the development of Blake's character because she has grown and changed so much over the course of the show. You can clearly pinpoint the moments throughout the story that pushes Blake forward with that growth. It's really cool. But the unfortunate side effect is it also kind of makes her boring. Or at least, boring compared to who she used to be.
That wasn't too hard.
Well, it's not like this place is very difficult to find.
It was a little strange at first because you were younger, but I've always looked up to you, RWBY.
Yeah, it's cathartic and cool watching a character grow into the best possible version of themselves, but also, we can't really deny that the flawed characters are the ones who are actually interesting. Nowadays, Blake is kind, empathetic, speaks her mind, and stands her ground. And yes, this is the kind of person everyone should aspire to be like. These are all good, positive qualities for someone. But I gotta be honest, I have a lot more fun with Blake when she's sassy, disinterested, struggles to reveal the painful facts of her sordid past, and runs from her problems. We have stories about characters who are flawed because we want to see them get better and be better people, but also, in doing so, you sort of lose the attributes about your character that made them unique. And I do truly think this is the root of the problem with how people perceive Blake these days. She has grown and developed and overcome the obstacles that stood in her path, including the personal parts about herself that made her distance herself from others or act impulsive. But that also means she feels like a shadow of the character we all sort of fell in love with back in Volume 1. Anyways, we still haven't gotten to that scene from Volume 9 yet, so let's just get there already. During the Fall of Atlas, Blake once again watches Yang seemingly get get hurt right in front of her, and again there seems to be nothing she can do to prevent it. Though, as another sign of her growth, this time she turns around and charges back into the fray. But she ends up falling with the others, and bam, we're in the ever after. Blake's character is, again, rather passive in this volume. This is more of a RWBY volume, and so Blake doesn't really have much of a specific arc to explore outside of her confirming her love for Yang.
Think I love you.
I love you too.
But then, finally, we get to the scene.
Gotta stay positive, right? Smiles all around.
Blake cowers behind Yang. How? I've gone on and on about how she's grown to stand her ground, and she does. There's been tons of examples where she stands and fights for what she believes in and what she thinks is right. But this isn't something she believes in. RWBY is right, and she knows it. All the girls know it. That's why they don't argue with her. Remember what I said way back in the beginning? Blake hates confrontation when it's about her own faults. Well, honestly, after coming clean about Adam and the White Fang, there aren't a ton of examples about her having to face these uncomfortable moments. And every time she does, the person she's talking to is very kind and sympathetic. Confronting her regrets about abandoning her parents, Gira is gentle and understanding. Sun telling her to stop running from the people who love her, he's firm but kind. Even as far back as Volume 3, when she opens up about Adam for the first time, Yang is in tears because of Mercury's leg, and the others are quiet, and they listen to what Blake has to say. They're not argumentative or abrasive or anything. RWBY's big outburst here is the first time since, I think, Weiss in Volume 1, where someone is clearly upset and aggressive while talking about something she's done wrong. Last time, Blake ran. This time, she stays. She doesn't interrupt RWBY, she doesn't leave the scene or distract herself or look away, she stays and stands her ground. And yes, Yang moves in front of her, but this is more of an example of Yang's development. The fact of the matter is, Blake stays and faces an uncomfortable moment. This is very much in line with her growth we've seen over the course of the show. It's easy to stand firm and face others when you think they're wrong. It's not always so easy when you think you made a mistake. So, like I said, the way I've painted these events are in a very flattering light, and I can acknowledge that Blake's development is very well done when looking at the overall story and her personal progression. But I also admit I'm not personally a huge fan of how every single thing has played out. Well, yes, it is a sign of her growth for her to stay and face RWBY's wrath. I also don't like how she cowers behind Yang. I think it undermines just how much she's grown here, and makes Yang come across as unnecessarily aggressive for this scene. But I can also chalk this one up to maybe a slip of the animation decisions. I think the more egregious element is Blake losing all her personal flair with her development. Like I was saying, she's grown to be a better person, but that makes her more boring now. But she doesn't have to be. Blake can still be a bookworm who hyperfixates on her reading. Blake can be empathetic and kind, but still be curt and sprinkle in some fun sass every now and then. This honestly wouldn't be as much of a notable issue if it also wasn't true for Yang and Weiss. Aside from Ruby Rose, the rest of the team have all grown out of their unique character traits. Yang, Weiss, and Blake all feel like completely different characters now.
Are you being sarcastic?
Seriously, is your goal just to push everyone away?
Finally, some recognition.
But usually they're just looking out for themselves.
Maybe we were just tired of being pushed around. That's what I'm doing!
I truly meant it when I said Blake fascinates me in the start of this video, because out of the 3 girls I've highlighted, I think Blake's development is the best executed. I can't deny I do like seeing her smile and be fun. I do think she's emotionally in a better place than she was in the start of the show. I can't quite say the same for Weiss and Yang, but it's also easy to miss those early volumes of RWBY, not only because of the nostalgia, but because this team of girls is a lot more varied and interesting compared to who they are now. Personal growth and development doesn't also have to have the side effect of washing away the fun personality of the character. And I think it's really obvious to see those personal changes with Yang and Weiss, but for Blake it's a lot more subtle. It's only those little moments like here in Volume 9 when you really start to remember who Blake was before. That all being said, I do like Blake's development as a character. I think she's probably probably the best executed character in the whole show, but I wish that growth didn't also come with a loss of that original fun personality. If I'm honest, I don't think we'll ever see this side of Blake again. Weiss can slowly regain her kind of haughty traits. Yang has been slowly getting her bubbly, fun-loving personality back, but Blake is well off now. She's happy, and I don't think any of the writers are going to want to bring back her old style at the cost of her newfound growth. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, I suppose. Even now, I haven't really come to any grand conclusion about how I feel about it all. It's a complex topic, just like a lot of the aspects that center around Blake. I guess it's not so easy to wrap up all the intricacies about her character in a neat little bow. Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Hype Man, Isaiah, Scaring Crows, Not All That Evil, Holly, Messiah, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, Rain, Trash, Wild Pilot, Josh, Twisty, Juan, Bunkin Duncan, Hoodie Angel, Ranger, Hut Mutt Butt, Primaroon, Steve, Overhypen, Plague, Unspoken, Tyrene, Thanos, Pandemonium, Peter, Agiri, Shahid, Eden, The Eliza, Minnie, Liv Lobotomy Sane, Doki Pokey, Fanboy, and myself. So what do you think? I know I was very flattering in this video, and it was because I want to talk about how much I like Blake's growth, and I do think it's very well executed. I could be pedantic and talk about the parts that I think aren't well done, but they feel like small details stitched into a better made, grander whole. But what do you think? I'm going to assume a lot of people don't agree with me on this topic, and might think that her development is the worst, but I would love to see your thoughts, whether you agree or disagree, any and all opinions about not only Blake's growth and development, but like I mentioned with Weiss and Yang as well. Any and all thoughts and opinions, I would love to see them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.